Counting?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, that's a little bit not there. Let's try it again. Good morning, class.
Good morning.
Brilliant. That's what filmmaking is all about. Entertainment. Okay? However, we are here today in Lycée Notre of Chartres for the third time to introduce you, French students, into what the world calls Nollywood film industry, which happens to be now the second largest film industry in the world. Okay? The third in production number, the third largest in production number, the fastest growing film industry history has ever known, in less than 30 years, has grown from nothing to take its place in the global community of filmmaking. And now the world is beginning to pay attention, and they are beginning to ask questions, and they are showing interest on or in what we do and wanting to understand how we do what we do, which is what has given rise to these workshop sessions. Okay? Before we proceed, I would appreciate if we meet ourselves properly. I'm Mordi, a filmmaker. I'm an instructor, I'm a mentor, I'm a film director, I'm a complete artist. I do a lot of things. I paint, I sculpt, I write, I produce, I edit. Okay, I'm a filmmaker. And you are?
Benjamin.
Sorry?
Benjamin.
Just give me one name. Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Okay, you're welcome, Benjamin, to the class. And you?
My name is Hugo.
Hugo? Hugo, you're welcome.
Zachariah.
Zachariah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, and our lady. Menu, you're welcome. Lirena, you're welcome.
Léonie.
Leonie, you're welcome.
Constance.
Constance, you're welcome. Ellen, you're welcome. And I already nicked one of you. Can you come over, into the frame, please? Come quickly. Our wonderful, one of the wonderful students here. And your name is?
Audrey.
Audrey volunteered to help us stay behind the camera to make sure that we're able to have a record of what we're doing. So we would miss you in here, but I know you've got good ears. Thank you very much, and your eyes are sharp. All right. So, many moons ago, many years ago, many decades ago, way back in the 19th century, when Britain was busy colonizing the world, Nigeria was one of the countries that was under the colony of the United Kingdom. And in them days, okay, before, they're about 1920s, 1930s, those early era, we had a British film industry coming into Nigeria via the BBC for news reportage and all that, documentaries following through the colonial activities. So we had filmmaking in Nigeria that early. Okay? I need you to understand the story of Nollywood, how it became what it is now. So we're not talking about a film industry that just popped out of the air for nothing. There's been filmmaking activities that initially controlled by the colonial masters for propaganda purposes, for political reasons, for economic reasons, for documentary of the activities of the colonial masters within the region. That's fine. That's history. That's good. But it was not an industry that was active, so it couldn't employ and engage as an entertainment industry. Then, fast forward to 1960, Nigeria gained her independence. You see, it was good that the colonial masters had cameras, even if we didn't have an industry, so they were able to record the activity of the independence, the handing over of the government from the British Empire to the Nigerian government, and set up the first democracy in Nigeria. We have all that on record, on celluloid tapes, and it's still there in the archives, in our national institutes. So there's been filmmaking in Nigeria way before the 20th century. Okay? But still, that was not an industry. From 1960 moving up, later the country, Nigeria, set up what we call the Nigerian Television Authority, where they try to replicate what BBC is, okay, national news platform and programming for television. So the Nigerian Television Authority was born, started from the western part of Nigeria, somewhere in Ibadan or thereabout, and over time evolved and spread across the country. Then production gradually started out of television programs, theater performances that are recorded. Then you have people coming up with theater performances, and they started to go out to do tours and entertain and create theater and entertainment. There's some few names, I'll just mention two among many, that stood out in that era of transformation, who were theater thespians, you know, those who really were grounded in theater, but they were now beginning to infuse their knowledge of theater into broadcasting, into television and film. They had access to celluloid that early days because the colonial masters were just living and they still had connections across Britain and Nigeria. So they were able to have access to equipment and all that, and still were able to make production. So filmmaking started really early in Nigeria. You have a name like Pa Amata, late Eddie Ubuma. You had another wonderful name like Albert Ogunde. Albert Ogunde was a thespian of a class. He single-handedly did a lot to create awareness for the need to have our own cultural essence in media and representation. Even within the country, he was able to make a huge impact. Then gradually things began to pick up. The television stations began to create programs and started airing programs on a daily basis gradually, and it carried on like that. Films now started being made in Nigeria on celluloid, but just maybe one in a few years, one after a few months. So you could spend maybe 2 years and you've not heard about anything being made in the whole of the country. So we can still say safely that the industry hadn't taken off then. Okay? Good. Are we still together? I want us to agree on that point. What is an industry? Anyone want to help us? What is an industry? The word industry, what does it really mean? Anyone want to help? Just whatever idea you have, we can work with it.
It's to produce something.
Good.
It's like, if it's an industry, I think it's like a lot of production and a fast production.
Lots of productions, good. You could say an industry is like a community of experts or practitioners of a particular production. There could be an industry that manufactures chairs. There could be an industry that manufactures lights. There could be an industry that manufactures computers. But what we're talking about is an industry that manufactures television and film products. So if you're just doing it from one office, you're not able to employ en masse, you don't have an industry yet. You could have a business. you could be an entrepreneur. So at that early stage, it wasn't an industry because not a lot of people were involved.